Right now, there's a major increase in the demand in the Denver metro housing market, and why you need to be educated of what the market is like right now instead of what it was like a month ago. Things have been changing like crazy. There has definitely been a major increase in the houses that have gone under contract. We've seen a major uptick in the mortgage applications and just a lot of people who are not necessarily people getting pre-approved to buy right now, but just getting prepared to be buying in the next few months. I do think that the best deals that we were seeing where people were able to negotiate either seller contributions to get a buy down or price decreases, I do think probably most of our best deals are behind us. With that being said though, I do still think right now there is a little bit of wiggle room to get yourself a good deal on a property. So today I'm going to be talking about all the numbers from February 1st to February 7th and giving you an update of what's going on in the market. As I mentioned, right now these are the weekly numbers, and if you look at the monthly numbers, there's been a drastic shift from the beginning of January until right now in the beginning of February. So the numbers that we were seeing in January are not a good reflection of what we're seeing right now in the market. So the active daily amount of properties dropped by about 4,000, which makes a huge compression point. And now we're kind of starting to jump back into a multiple offer season. This last week, pending units went up by 11%, and we are jumping back into another extreme seller's market. Now, if you're looking to sell or you're thinking about maybe selling at some point this year, the best time to be doing that is, February, March, and April, even into the first few weeks of May. It's very typical for most of the inventory to hit mid-May. So what that does is if you have a really good property right now, what I'm seeing is good properties are getting snagged up really quick. And even if you have that property that has maybe a funky floor plan, or you're backed up to a major road, or you have lime green walls that you don't want to paint, you're probably going to be able to get the best bang for your buck and get the most out of your house if you list in these next February, March, April, May timeframes. The reason for that is most people are going to be prepping their homes to sell and getting it on the market right around that mid-April timeframe to be selling for that summer season. So you're going to have a lot more competition, and there's going to be a lot more better listings that you're going to be competing against. More buyers are going to be going under contract, and more homes are going to be for sale. If you're looking to maximize what you can get for your property and get multiple offers, right now is the time to get your house on the market. Now, as a buyer, May 10th could be a key indicator for rates to possibly go down, but it's a gamble to wait until then to see if the rates are going to go down. Now, when we look back at the sales for January that have closed, 65% of those properties had a concession, with an average of $6,800 for a concession. Most of those are going to be going for a rate buy down for the buyers. You may still be able to get concessions. Like I said, I think the best deals might be behind us, but if you see properties that have possibly been sitting out there for 30, 60, 90 days, you might be able to jump in there and get some concessions. But what I've been seeing in the last few days is if it is a nice property and it shows well, there's a lot of demand for those properties. So I don't know if you're necessarily going to be getting concessions on those kind of properties. We are starting to see multiple offer situations, meaning that we are going back over asking price. Thank goodness though, we are only seeing 1 to 8% rather than that 10 to 20% we were seeing in 2021 and the beginning of 2022. Historically, for the last 10 years, the weekend after Super Bowl weekend is the best time to list your property, which is great. Hopefully we do start to see more of those listings because there is a huge pent-up buyer demand. Now for this weekend, this is typically one of the slowest weekends of showings, which typically drop 10 to 20% just because of the Super Bowl weekend. So if you have your house listed and you have a lot of showings, you're going to get some very serious buyers out there. And to the buyers out there, it's a great time to be out shopping for homes because there's a lot less people looking for properties this weekend. Now, I think a really big thing to look at is if you're a buyer out in this market and you can't seem to find the property that you want, if you are willing to have that not so move-in ready property, looking at a renovation loan, you can put as little as 3% down, and then you can wrap your renovation into your loan. So there's plenty of properties that are sitting out there that might just need carpet and paint. So if that's something that you're looking for, that could be a really great option for you. So thankfully, we did see an uptick of new listings going up by 16.9% last week. And as I did mention before, we are going to start to see more of those listings hitting the market past mid-April. Odds of selling last week jumped up by 5%. And I saw this at the very beginning of the year, but buyer demand is definitely starting to pick up. People are really starting to understand that the buying process is just getting earlier and earlier every year. Typically, it was starting in that springtime, but now we're starting to see that kind of creeping into the end of winter. Last week, 1,025 units went under contract. For an active balanced market, we would need to see 2,600 properties hit the market to offset the buyer demand. I know a lot of people are thinking that we're still going to be seeing more of a market correction. I don't think that's the case. I think that we saw the market correction that we were going to see, and I don't know if we're going to necessarily see any more of those price drops. I think that we've already seen the market correction that's going to be happening. And right now what I'm seeing, there's low inventory, high demand. So like I said, I don't see that crash coming at all. I am starting to see that there might even be a little bit of an inventory gridlock where people got locked into their new, whether they refinanced or purchased their home in 2020, 2021 and locked in at a 2.5% interest rate. It's really hard for them to stomach going and looking at a new property that they're going to get a smaller house for a bigger payment. So I do think that that is going to play into this. I'm starting to see a lot more people just doing renovations and building onto their home rather than making the move. So that's kind of clogging up some of the inventory that we would have been seeing. Showings bumped up last week by 1.8%, and the week previous, they jumped up by 14.5%, which is great to see. Once again, I do think that showings are going to be down anywhere from 10 to 20% this weekend just because of the Super Bowl. What we were seeing this week is roughly 3.8 showings on average for each property and taking roughly 15 showings to go under contract. Right now, people are looking for turnkey properties in a great neighborhood with great schools, making sure that it's staged really well and that it has a great online presence. So it's pretty wild looking at the median days on market during the holidays was sitting anywhere from 40 to 50 days. Right now we're seeing that decline down to 16 days is the median time on average. So if you have a really nice house, that's going to get snagged up really quick. With that being said too though, there are a lot of stale listings that have been on the market since December and January, and people have seen those. So it's just old listings. So when they see a new listing pop up, I think we're just having a lot of buyers going after these nice new listings, which is resulting in multiple offer situations. We are seeing a lot of these properties that are hitting the market are overpriced. Last week, we did see 36.2% of the properties that were on the market did do a price reduction, and 62.5% did not do a price reduction. This is a slightly higher price reduction rate than we've seen in the past. The size of the price reduction is going down. Right now, we did see a 6.6% on average price reduction. We would like to see that closer to 5.5, which is average historically. And the properties that are under 500,000 this week, you should be getting roughly about 6 showings per week, and it's taking about 16 showings to go under contract. So if you're not going under contract in about 2 weeks, it might be worth considering doing a price reduction. In any of these price points, like I mentioned before, I think the best time to be listing is anytime in February, March, or the beginning of April. And the reason for that is once we start to get into May, you're going to get into high school graduations, Memorial Day weekend. So if May is your only time that you can list your property, that's still probably going to be better. We do start to see things taper off after that June, July, especially after the 4th of July. We start to see the market start to taper off as people want to get moved into their houses before the end of the summer. So in that $500 to $1 million price point, we are seeing a 0.9% months of inventory, which a balanced market is 3 months. The pending units in this price point jumped up last week by 7.6%. So inventory continues to drop and the odds of selling also went up by 4%. Right now, we are seeing that the odds of selling are sitting right around 57.9%. We would like to see that number a little bit closer to 60 to 65%. We would need 15.5% inventory to be able to offset the demand in this price point. Right now in this price point, we are seeing 3.2 showings per week on average, and it's taking about 13 showings to go under contract. The median days on market here is 16 days, and that's down all the way from 60 days back during the holiday season. So when you look at that, at the beginning of January, it was taking roughly about 2 months for a property to go under contract. Right now, it's taking roughly 2 weeks, and that happened all in the span of only 4 weeks. So hopefully you can see how much the market is starting to heat up. In this price point, we did see 39% of the properties did do a price reduction, and the average price decrease was 5.7%. So that's what's going on in the market all the way up to $1 million. If you're looking at the $1 million plus, feel free to reach out to me. That market is definitely staying strong and hot as well. What I'm seeing from my personal view, I went and looked at a property in Longmont, listed at $425. They had multiple offers. One of the offers was all the way up to $480. I did lose out on an offer that somebody came in $20,000 higher than us. So those are just the things that I'm personally seeing. This market is definitely starting to heat up. If you're a buyer, it's a great time to get started out there. If you're a seller, it's a great time to be hitting the market. Feel free to shoot me a text or an email. My information is below, and we'll see you on the next video.